In about 1970, we bought a very small house on the hill, and at the same time I was a publisher, and I published this book called The Complete Guide to Self-Sufficiency. And at that time, the author and I became very, very friendly, and he came to Sheepdrove, and I began to realize the sort of agribusiness as opposed to agriculture that was happening all around me on the fields round about. And he really taught me about what had happened to agriculture, how it had become completely unsustainable, the chemicals and the spraying and so on. And then, as the company did very well, I gradually bought little bits of land around me on the basis that I really wanted to preserve it, a sort of nuclear-free zone, no chemicals, natural systems, returning the land round here to downland. But I went on buying and stupidly ended up with something over 2,000 acres. Which I then, of course, had to farm. And there was only one way to farm. Right from the beginning, we went for organic farming. And there was only one way to do that, is to farm it organically. And so we bought in a shepherd because we thought grazing would be good. And then next thing that happened, the local farm next door came up, and I thought, am I going to watch this being chemically farmed, or am I going to farm it myself? So that's really the story of Sheepdrove. And then when I finally sold the company in 2000, I thought to myself, well, I'm not really a farmer, so I'm going to do something and make it a sort of centre for the sustainable farming and organic farming. And so we built this really large conference centre here, which we also use as farm offices, and we have farm things here and so on. But basically, it's to get lots and lots of people down here. So when they go away, they think, well, maybe sustainable farming, organic farming, works after all. Because what you have to remember is the chemical industry has been so successful at convincing everybody that unless it sprays that last bit of chemical, you'll have a disaster of biblical proportions. And it's clearly untrue. Obviously, one of the big challenges the slow food movement and ourselves, and a lot of people have, of course, is genetically modified organisms. So we're very much in trying to organize proper information on that, because there's such a lot of misleading information, especially when it comes to claims like feeding the world. It's all part of this industrialization of the food supply, and also this huge consolidation that's taken place. We've just got this very few number of companies supplying 80% of all grain and having control over it and so on. And again, I think the slow food movement can make a huge contribution there in trying to get proper information out there. There's so much spin about genetically modified crops. As you know, we are engaged in a conference in London on genetically modified crops called Feeding the World. Are GMOs fit for purpose? If not, what then? We need to do these things actively, and there are certain campaigns that we're involved in as a farm, as a family, and that is one of them that we think is a very, very insidious, almost criminal in the way it's unravelled, the genetically modified debate. Well, some people have called it this centre, the sort of organic cathedral of sustainable world, and we are very well known as a sustainable farm. So yes, you can say that. It's certainly an absolute monument to organic principles. I think it's probably the most important movement that's ever come along in terms of restoring balance into the way we get our food. I think it's absolutely vital it continues. And that's why we've put quite a lot of money into Slow Food UK, because we absolutely believe that it could be hugely influential.